Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. Today is another part of my series called the Character File Review, and today I'm going to be talking about Foggy Dewhurst, otherwise known as Walter Dewhurst. So yeah, we're going to be talking about Foggy Dewhurst, and what I kind of think of Foggy Dewhurst. He's one of my favourite characters in Last of the Summer Wine, and probably even my favourite character. And he's just amazing. He's really funny. He's really engaging to in Last of the Summer Wine. And his relationship with Clegg and Compo is really great. Them three work together amazingly. I've got to say, their relationship is just amazing. These three were just brilliant mates, and I've got to say, absolutely amazing. Foggy Dewhurst, he joined the army in the late 1930s, and we see that in First of the Summer Wine. He was in the army, and we're guessing he kind of joined fairly recently, because he's not a corporal there. So yeah, and he's otherwise known as a corporal as well, Corporal Dewhurst, and he was a corporal sign writer during the army. He was also fought in World War II, and he supposedly went into the jungle, and he had tons of these amazing stories that he mainly likes to bore people on park benches. So, and that's always funny. It was always like at the beginning of an episode, and I've got to say that Foggy just amazing character overall. When Foggy Dewhurst first arrived in Last of the Summer Wine, he was very out of place, I'd say, because he was surrounded by Clegg and Compo, and they kind of know what kind of buffoonish stuff they get onto, and he was kind of there, all kind of sensible and kind of like this. Oh, I'm going to do this and stuff like that, and he kind of really took control of them, and kind of made them his group, his leader, that kind of group and that kind of stuff. But it didn't really work, if I can be honest. He tried to train them up, but I think it kind of failed. But it does really create a really great dynamic with, obviously, Clegg and Compo, because they just work so well together. And they were together for around 9 years, between 1985 all the way, well, from 1976 all the way to 1985, and they kind of worked together amazingly for those 9 years. And then Foggy left because he inherited a egg painting business, so he went over there and he started painting these eggshells, and so he left for a while. And then 5 years later, in 1990, he came back just out of the blue, and he said he'd sold his business. He got a bit bored of painting eggshells, and he decided to come back. And the next 7 years I thought were really good. I've got to say, Return of the Warrior is probably one of the episodes I revisit quite a lot, because it's really funny how he kind of just keeps on missing them every time, and he keeps on looking for Compo and Clegg, and he doesn't find them, and then at the end of the episode he kind of finds them, and then kind of just leaves all their luggage on him. And I think that's really brilliant, because when he first came, he gave them all of his luggage, so I feel like that's really nice. That they did that again. It was kind of funny how the dynamic kind of works. And also, Foggy Dewhurst is known for carrying a lot of rubbish around when he moves house. So that's always kind of funny. A lot of people tripped over it as part of every time he has all his luggage. But I've got to say, Foggy Dewhurst, an amazing character. Just an absolutely amazing character. Brilliant. Foggy Dewhurst was also played by Brian Wilde. Brian Wilde is the one who you see on all of this kind of merchandise here, so here, and all that kind of stuff. He's on all the DVDs and everything. Brian Wilde was amazing in the role, but he's not the only person to have played Foggy Dewhurst. He was played by Colin Harris in There Goes the Groom, and he was also played by someone else in the prequel of Last of the Summer Wine, and that person was played by Richard Lunston in First of the Summer Wine. And yeah, all of these portrayals are really great, but Colin Harris, I believe that's his name, Colin Harris, he only played him for one episode, and it wasn't for very long, because all Colin Harris had to do was kind of lie there and look like Brian Wilde. For the point where I thought it was Brian Wilde in that episode, because in There Goes the Groom, they dress him up to look like him, and he really does. And then this is when the last time we actually see Foggy Dewhurst, because Brian Wilde got like shingles and stuff like that, so he kind of had to. He left during Series 19, and then was replaced with. He was replaced with Truly, played by Frank Thornton, and he did a brilliant job. That's another character for another time. But Foggy Dewhurst is the definitive third man out of all of them. Other ones I would say amazing was obviously Seymour. He's amazing. Obviously Truly. They're all amazing, really. Blaine Meyer, brilliant as well. Yeah, but I've got to say Foggy is the definitive one. When you think of Last Summer Wine, you think of Compo, Clegg, and Foggy. They're just kind of the definitive one. And another interesting fact about Foggy Dewhurst, he appeared in 117 episodes of Last of the Summer Wine. That is quite a big chunk, considering there are 295, but it does seem quite less. But if you compare that as an era, that's quite a big era. If you compare it to the other eras, like the Blaine Meyer era only has like, I think 14 episodes or something between series 1 and 2, or 13 actually, I think. But he definitely has a lot more content than the other third men. Obviously, Truly gets a lot more than that, but that's because he's kind of later on, and episodes get extended and stuff like that, become a bit longer. So, yeah, I've got to say that Foggy Dewhurst, you're a legend. Brian Wilde, you're amazing. I've got to say that your acting ability is incredible. You're brilliant in Porridge as well. That's Mr. Barrowcroft in Porridge. You're amazing in that. And Foggy Dewhurst was also given a nickname. His nickname was Foggy because his actual name is Walter. So Walter was his proper name. So he would be Walter Corporal, like Dewhurst. So yeah. But he's just an incredible character. I also like his mad kind of stuff that he gets up to. He also comes up with plans to, figure out ways to go down hills and stuff like that. How to capture. I think there was an episode where they try and capture some animal and stuff like that. I think it was a horse or something like that, which I thought was very funny as well. I believe that was an episode that featured him. He also appears in the famous bathtub episode, because that's probably the most famous episode of Last of the Summer Wine, isn't it? Yep. But he doesn't roll down the hill in it, nor does Clegg. It is actually Compo who rolls down the hill, and not an ordinary hill. That's an interesting fact for you. But yeah, I've got to say, Foggy Dewhurst, incredible. Brian Wilde, R.I.P. Legend. Moving back on to Foggy Dewhurst. Foggy Dewhurst had one love, as he fell in love with this woman, and they shared an object. I can't remember what the object was now, but that's going to bug me now. But they had a mutual interest, which when they were in the army, he came across this woman, and they had a kind of togetherness about them. They liked each other, which I thought was very, very nice, but we never get to see this woman, so I guess that's kind of a bit sad. But Foggy does end up happily in love. He ends up with a post lady in Blackpool, where he accidentally proposes to her. So Foggy Dewhurst ended up as a happy soldier in the end. He technically could have got married, but we don't know that yet. But so it all ended up great for Foggy in the end. But Foggy Dewhurst is never seen or heard of again for like the entirety of Last Samurai, from my memory at least. I could be wrong on that, but he's not mentioned after leaving in 1997. Never mentioned again, not seen again, which I think's a bit bizarre, because I feel like maybe if he'd got a bit better then he could have come back, but clearly Brian Wilde obviously didn't want to come back, or for whatever reason. But his time on the show though is just brilliant. I've got to say, his character is like really iconic, so much so they put him in First of the Summer Wine, which I always thought was amazing. But his relationship though in that trio, I think, is really good. Like, you have Foggy as the leader, Clegg as the glue that holds them together, and then you have, Compo, the messy, scruffy one, quite loud one. I feel like that's, that really works as a great group of characters. And as other characters in TV show go through like character developments, how they change, I wouldn't say Foggy really changes. The core bit of Foggy is that he's always a leader. He is a leader of men. That's what he's supposed to do. That's his role. But he's also a bit goonish. He's a bit of a goon, bit of a. He's a bit strange, but I feel like that kind of adds to his character really, because if he was just like a normal kind of soldier without all authority, he wouldn't be as entertaining. But the fact that the Wilde brings that kind of wildness to him, which I think's a lot better, that you don't really see with the other third men, in my opinion, which makes him more unique. I'd now like to talk about a theory I have about Foggy. I believe that Foggy could actually be the father. I believe he could be the father of Luther Hobdyke, who was Hobbo in the last couple of series of Last Summer Wine. That's a theory I thought about for ages. I think it makes sense because of their characteristics kind of being similar. Obviously, he was played by Russ Abbott, but I feel like their characteristics are a bit similar. So I don't know. Let me think. Put your thoughts in the comment section below if you think that's a good idea. I would love to do a video on that if you would like to see that. And yeah, I feel like that's a really interesting theory. I might do a theory on that. That should probably be a good idea. But I feel like he's just a brilliant character overall. He also gets taken the mickey out a bit, quite a lot, by Compo. He calls him Noddy and stuff like that, which I've always thought was kind of funny. I'd love to do a video on Compo. Compo's a brilliant character. But overall, I've got to say, Foggy is amazing. I don't think any other third man lives up to his kind of character. And yeah, I feel like he's just like my favourite character, if I can kind of say that. Just brilliant. Brian Wilde, you're a legend. I've probably said that about 1 billion times during this whole video, but he is amazing. He is the full serving, like, third man, and he's just a brilliant. He's a brilliant. There's nothing else I can really say, because Foggy Dewhurst, you are amazing. Brian Wilde, R.I.P. You brought a lot of enjoyment to me, Brian Wilde. And I've loved this character ever since I was probably about, 11 or 11 years old. And I've got to say, he's a brilliant character. And yeah, this is the end of my character file review. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Please remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. And I'll see you in a video soon enough where I'll be talking about Beyond Paradise. So, I'll see you in a video soon enough. Stay tuned for that one. Bye for now.